Yassar. Welcome to the Memphis Wu-S'aBat Q&A Friday conference call. We'll be starting in roughly about 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes, just allowing time for everyone to jump on in. Get your books, get your pad, get your paper, get your questions. We'll be starting shortly. All right, we will be beginning in 2 more minutes. All right. Rahubat, Zamal, Tat, Rahubat, Yassar, Rahubat, Muisa, Rahubat, Kale, Wahu. Greetings, everyone. How's everyone doing today? We're going to go ahead and get ready to open up class tonight. I'm going to start by opening up Bipa Ranen, Impa Yabab Asar, Wu Pa Batal Batat Ashtat, Wu Pa Tawuba, Sanan Harar, Amun, by way of the name of the Father Osiris, and the Virgin Mother Isis, and the blessed Son Horus, Amun. Pabrahan Shalel Musbatu, Nakuk Rahun, Tayun Han, Laye Wu-S'aBat, Shalel Pa Tauhuda, Musbat Shabat, Wahu Yasar Tahit Sa'ah Wu-S'aBat, Harar Sahu Rahuk Sahu Hakum Sahu Bahum, Lahe Kalel Sahu Tahum, Karer Jamud Sahu Nakush. This is the pledge of the Sabian. I pledge allegiance to Wu-S'aBat of the United Sabian Tribe, one family under Orion and Sirius, with correct, right knowledge, correct, right wisdom, right understanding, for all right overstanding, with sound, solid, right reasoning. Patak Yud. Anuki Jawef pa ashuk in pa paut, wu kale ashuk kawun Jawef naya. Anuki kasamun im pa paut, wu pa paut kawun kasamun im naya. Anuki wahu eme pa paut, wu pa paut kawun wahu eme naya. Nakukadur naju, eme kasamun im pa paut, Wu-S'aBat emes muskasu. Nakukadur kawan kale nakuk kale papuf papef nakuk dayur Jawef pa paut. Ame wasu eme dayarni kawun lake bakui Jawef pa paut. Anuki yabet bi nafashni. Pa paut kawun anuki. Pa paut kadur nakuk kadur. Pa paut amul nakuk amul. This is the affirmation. I am in the divine love of the all-expanding, and all divine love is in me. I am a part of the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is a part of me. I am one as the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is one as me. I can succeed as a part of the all-expanding and fail as an individual person. I can be all that I want in the all-expanding, as long as my want is to stay in the all-expanding. I am never by myself. The all-expanding is, I am. The all-expanding can, I can. The all-expanding does, I do. Rahubat, Rahubat, Rahubat. Can everybody hear me? Let me just type something in the chat just to make sure everybody is there. All right, well, I'm still waiting on people to come on in to the class. If you have any questions, if you're on the Zoom side, you can type your questions there if you're in the Zoom. And if you are on the Facebook side, you can go ahead and type in the things that you have on the Facebook side. Rahubat, 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 Muisar.
Rahubat.
All right. Now, Rahubat. Okay. I just opened up the class, and I'm going to do a small reading real quick, and then some updates, and then we will get to the questions and answers portion of the class, which is why everyone is here, to ask questions and to receive the facts behind those questions. Where is it? There was something in specific I wanted to read from. As I get my scrolls out, here we go. All right. All right, I'm going to be reading a section from the 9. And this section is called Anshur Wu-S'aBat, Wu-S'aBat, spread and replace. I'm going to, for the intensive purposes, I'm just going to read the English. It says, Nuwapians, each of you must seek the way, your or you all's own way. 2, the path towards Wu-S'aBat or Wu-S'aBat, you all's own culture and way of life. 3, Musbatu, each of you all must spread Wu-S'aBat. 4, Musbatu, each of you all must find the divine inside of your own selves. 5, Musbatu, you all are the replacement with the truth and the facts. 6, Musbatu, you all can clear away the fictions, the fables, the legends, and the religious lies with the actual facts. Wu-S'aBat. 7, Musbatu, only you all can make a difference with the world's people. 8, remember Musbatu, you all are the helpers of the overseers, Panataru or Pamuntaru. Number 9, the cure for this sick world. And along with that, I want to read another section out of here. which is called Tim Zaded, which is not before. My beloved Wu-S'aBat, know this. 1. When we live upon our own land, we are a nation, not before. Number 2, when we practice our own culture, we become a tribe, but not before. 3, when we build our own sanctuary for prayer, then are we a religion, not before. 4, when we speak our own language, we are a people, not before. 5, when we have our own canon to live by, then are you all the ones who are civil, not before. 6, when we live for, of, and by each other, then we are a family, not before. 7, when we all pray together, we become a congregation, not before. 8, when we all love each other, we will be loved, not before. Number 9, when we act divine, we become divine, and not before. All right. Just a little something to go ahead and bring a little inspiration into the room. So again, I want to welcome everyone to the Friday night Q&A conference call and class that we're having. We're streaming live on YouTube at the moment, as well as here in the Zoom room. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type your questions in the comment section, or if you're on the Zoom app, feel free to just ask your question at any time doing it. Zamal Amun Ahanibu, are you on the line?
I'm here.
All right. Zamal, I'm going to turn the class over to you for your will and pleasure.
All right. Tag, thank you. Rahubat, Musar, greetings, family. We are Wu-S'aBat, or Sabaeans. Biblically speaking, this will be Sheba or Saba. The land that this is talking about is inclusive of Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, and even parts of Arabia, because Arabia was one part of Africa. Also, you will find included in this culture is the Dimt tribe, DMT. So if you look that up, those are the things that you can look up. If this is your first time on the call for those beginners. So when you hear the word Sabaean or Sabbatic or Saba, it's talking about a people who acknowledges and worships the stars, not just the physical stars in the sky, but also the true stars, which will be our overseers, watchers, protectors, and guides, which will be what we call the Muntoru or Natoru, which means watchers, or ancient ones. All right. We also, what they call animists of today, that's what we practice, meaning every living thing is connected and has a spiritual purpose and has a spirit and is living. It has a purpose. All right. We do acknowledge our master teachers. Somebody can mute your phone, please. Okay. Thank you. We do acknowledge and state that we declare the innocence of our master teacher, who is Ptah Yananan, or Dr. Malachi Z. York. Okay. Thank you for muting your phones. We do declare once again our innocence of our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, Okran. He is innocent. And we are Munbubu, which means masters of Panabat Yananan. We are students that are teaching. I will be one of your student teachers today. My title is Amun Ahanibu. And before you ask your questions, as we always say in this class, please be specific with your questions. So have the title, give the title of whatever scroll or book you're coming from. So if you're coming from, let's say, the Bible, say Genesis chapter 7, verses 3 through 5. If you're coming from our holy tablets, chapter 1, tablet 3, verses 7 through 20, actual facts, give the name of it, the number, page number, verse, and be very specific with your questions. That way we can narrow it down and give you the best answer possible. If you don't have any questions written down, that is fine. Once again, this is also a beginner's class for those that are first times on this or just coming into the information, as well as people who have already been in. So no question is stupid or too simple. Please ask as many questions as possible, and we welcome you. So with that, we'll open up the floor to the first question from the room. So once again, if you have any background noise, please mute your phone unless you have a question. Excuse me. Okay. So while people are thinking of their questions, I just want to relay some information as far as who and what we are as Sabaeans or Wu-S'aBat. Okay. That way it will help those that are on the journey. Okay. So the word Sabaean comes from the Western name Sheba, which is in the Ge'ez language. The Ge'ez language, G-H-E apostrophe Z-E, or Ge'ez language, which was said Saba, who the modern Ethiopians call Makeda. Sabaean is found all over Ethiopia and Yemen. A former colony of ancient Ethiopians called the Djah'utwy, or the Dimpt Empire, which was a kingdom in Eritrea, northern Ethiopia, before the Aksum Empire, not to be mistaken with Damat. Okay? So I just want to clear up a couple things while you're getting ready with your questions. Also, just to give you some history, and for those who are Arabic-speaking people on the call, in Arabic, you'll even see the word also as as-Sabaiyun, as-Sabaiyun, okay? And this was referring to an ancient people speaking a proto-dynastic Nubian language as Djah'utwy, who lived in the northern region of Eastern Africa, including Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda, and even spanning to the Arabian Peninsula, and even far east as far as Pakistan. Okay? The kingdom of Saba in Arabic has been identified with the biblical land of Sheba. The biblical kingdom of Sheba was in fact the ancient Semitic civilization of Saba, where the story of Solomon and Queen of Sheba, also known as Makeda to the Hebrews, Bilqis to the Arabians, Ma'at Ka Rayay, or Hatshepsut, and or Hatshepsut by the ancient Egyptians began. Okay. The Queen of Sheba, or Makeda, was an Egyptian, Ethiopian, Sudanese, Kushite woman, one of the first original Arabs, being that the word Arab means mixed, coming from its root word Arabu, from the Sabatuyi language. They call her tongue Sabaean or Napatian. Okay? People of a town called Tuba, or Qam Tuba in Arabic, the descendants of Sheba. This can be found in Genesis chapter 10, verse 7, and also under the word Africans in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 3. They were men of stature in the Bible and engaged in merchandise. If you go to Isaiah chapter 45, verse 14, their conversion to the Lord was predicted in Psalm 72, verse 10. This word was also in Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 42, and also mentioned in Job 1 through 15. So to just give some people some references so you can go to and check it out for yourselves. This is our original, one of our ancient original names, going way, way back pre-dynastic times. And when we say pre-dynastic, this is dealing with prior to the 46 dynasties. Prior to the 46 dynasties, 46 meaning or referring to the 46 chromosomes that were swapped, meaning prior to the invasion, when invaders from Europe, Turkey, Syria, and Arabia coming into our land and raping our people, swapping their chromosomes with us. Thus, you have the 46 chromosomes. Thus, in turn, is symbolic of the 46 dynasties. So we're talking about prior to the mixing that took place, starting with dynasty number 1, which came from, which dealt with a pharaoh called Nermer, who was also called Menez, who was also called Aha. Okay, this can be found in the beginning or the intro to the old Nuwapic scrolls that we had, Nuwapic Simplified, Nuwapic at a Glance, etc. Also, it can also be found in the beginning of the Ashutat or prayer scrolls that we had. Okay, so we're talking about a time prior to the invasions where we were pure, not of mixed seeds, where we were also under the title as Nubans. All right. So I just want to give some background information for those that are just coming on, and for those that are on that may not know that information. Okay. And with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to more questions from the room.
I got a question. Could you explain how do we get to, or how do we derive the 24,000 year cycle, and why is it that we have some 24,000 year cycles as opposed to 25,000 year cycles, as well as 26,000 year cycles?
Okay, what the brother is asking is about the cycles. Each person, matter of fact, we'll start even further. Each cell in your body, group of cells make a, organ, tissue. Group of tissues make an organ, group of organs make a system, group of systems make a body. These bodies in turn on this planet. This planet is in part of this solar system, or once, as we call it, as Sabians, we call it a soul system. The solar systems make up Milky Ways. Milky Ways make up universes, on and on and on. But in each one of these that was labeled or mentioned, it has a cycle of time, meaning a cycle of highs and a cycle of lows. So for an example, in the wintertime, this will be our low or death cycle. Under the symbolic names of the silver periods or gray periods, or 6 ether cycle, because during the winter times, no animals are pretty much mating, everything's dying, so on and so forth. Whereas in the summertime, this will be 9 ether forces, or the golden cycles, where planets like this planet that we're on is closest to the sun. Thus, we have more energy. So that's why more people are out. Birds are mating, plants and grass, everything is growing again. So within the planets and systems, tri-systems, dual systems, etc., that exist without this boundless universe, there are ways that us ancient ones used to measure these cycles by the star movements. So it takes roughly a star in, let's say, what people call now the zodiac. It takes roughly 2,000 years to chart a star's movement from one zodiac position to the next. Okay, and we would measure these stars, and the beings that would measure them were different groups of beings. You had the Hanutu, or the priest of Amun Rayay, also called Amun Ra. We also had in the other scripts or tones, they were called the Wab, or the priests of Amun. And then you had the Nababu, or masters of Atun Rayay. Atun Rayay will be the one that they falsely call Ankhenaten, properly called Anunk and Atun. This is the one he was worshiping or acknowledging. Okay, so just going back to the actual question, to measure these cycles, which is periods of time from one point to the next, or completing like a loop, if you will, or a complete change of things, we will measure in different ways. And according to that way, it will come out to be pretty much 2 to 3 different measurements. So when we're measuring these cycles, okay, which includes 4 6,000 year periods. So if you take like a circle and draw a plus sign, like you have 4 pizza slices, Each one of those would be 6,000 years, representing one high period or golden cycle, and one silver cycle, which is low period in time. So you had 2 golden and 2 silver cycles that we go through, even with 1 year cycle of our planet around the sun. It has 2 high periods and 2 low periods. Okay. So to measure that, when you're dealing with the Earth's time, being on this planet, looking out into the stars, trying to measure these cycles called processions, equinoxes, so on and so forth, even jubilees, that's 50,000 years. There's different ways you can measure it. And one of them is by calculating the time, dealing with being that this planet has been marked by the number 24, dealing with our 24,000 genomes, which is our genetic cycle of things, the amount, totality of our genetics in our body, coinciding with one revolution of this planet on its axis, which takes estimated 24 hours. So when you're dealing with that, measuring these cycles or the stars from that point of view on this planet, this is why in some books you may see 24,000 years. If you're measuring these cycles or celestial bodies outside of this planet, if you're measuring it by the circumference of the planet, the total miles around from one point going all the way around, completing a track loop or circle around the planet, it'll be rounded off up to 25,000 years. If you're measuring it according to the precession or the equinox, which is the time it takes this galaxy to go around the central sun, if you will, just how our solar system is making a trip or a lap around the universe. That's when you're dealing with when you see 25,000 years, okay? And when you're dealing with that, for those that have actual facts, let us take a journey into actual facts, procession of change, actual facts number 14. Or we'll all read a couple verses through that for those who don't have it. Okay. So once again, this is Procession of Change, 2012, actual facts number 14. Okay. So we'll start with verse 3, and we'll do some cross-referencing. The movement of the stars, constellations, and the planets, and axis, as it relates to the equinox. Okay, so let's establish that right there. We're dealing with the movement of stars, constellation, and the planets, and axis. It relates to the equinox. Okay, so let's turn the page. Let's go over it. We're just going to go step by step. Okay. If you go to page 5, diagram 6, for those that don't have this, I'll explain it the best I can. But in the meantime,
video.
Say it again. Say it again. Okay. It says, verse 13, you must know all about what the procession of the equinox or equal night is and what it means to you. Verse 14, there is something extraordinary about this cycle that you Nuwapians must know. In the simplest term, the precession or procession of the equinox itself is a wobble in the planet Earth's axis. Okay, so let's stop right there. This wobble in our axis, so as our planet is turning, and as this planet is doing an orbit around the sun, as this whole solar system is orbiting around the central sun, as this whole Milky Way is orbiting around the central sun, there's a wobble effect as the Earth is rotating on its axis. The axis is actually wobbling a little bit, but we don't feel it. And this wobble also affects how we cycle through time and space. And this wobbling is called nutation. Okay? We can find that on page 6. As a matter of fact, let me can everybody see that? Okay. So as you see the planet right here, and this is the axis. Okay. In verse 16, it says, it's a wobble or revolution that requires a little less than 26,000 Earth years to complete. So now let's stop there. This is still answering the question. Now see how it says 26,000 years right here. This is dealing with the measurement with inclusive of this wobble or nutation. Okay. It says verse 17, this period of one revolution is 25,920 Earth years. And thus it has a diagram of the wobble motion right here. So wobbles exist within the precession of the equinox and are known. It is the primary precession of the equinox we are now concerned with in this one. Okay. Let's go over here, page 7. So as you guys use my notes in chicken scratch. So verse 20, so as the wobble of the planet Earth, Ptah Nun axis slowly turns in a circle, it eventually points to and passes through all 12 of the heavenly constellations of the Dendera one after another every 2 hours. So what does this mean? So our axis right here, as it's making an imaginary circle, if you trace its path, it's going through each of the constellations, Leo, Virgo, so on and so forth. And what they now call, Europeans now call zodiac, it was actually called the Dendera. So it takes 2 hours to go through each one. That's what this is talking about. Next verse, and we'll stop down here. This means that the precession of the equinox points to or enters a new constellation every 2,160 years, or around 3,000 Earth years. In other words, there are 12 divisions in the precessions of the equinox. All right. So I'll just summarize this. So in those 25 to 26,000 years, there are split into 12 parts as well. Okay. Okay. So with that, cross references would be if you go to Cycles, Actual Facts number 240, page 30, verse 106. So once again, that's Cycles, Actual Facts number 240, page 30, verse 106. You could also cross-reference that with the body parts of God, scroll number 47, page 106, the whole page. And of course, I mean, there's many other ones. We have, Lost Records of Time, so on and so forth. But this precession of change, Actual Facts number 14, we started on page, where did we come from? Page 5. No. We started from page 1, verse 3, and we went all the way over to page 7, cross-reference. So in conclusion, or in summary, there's 2 or 3 ways you can measure the Earth's precession or equinox, which is a 25,000 to 26,000 year lap around the space. And it's by the circumference of the planet Earth. You can do it by the days, which is 24 hours, or you can do it by the nutation or wobble effect of the axis. Okay, so each one is rounded up or down to a specific thing. So that's why you have certain different measurements, sometimes 2 or 3 different measurements. All right.
Okay, they have a question here from the chat.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, the question is, does that still apply to the solar flip where the south is the north and the north is the south?
Yes, because you gotta remember, at a certain period of time, the master teacher was saying, who's Panabat Yanan, was saying that the poles will shift, and they did. When they shifted, it wasn't talking about the actual physical poles like the North Pole, South Pole, but the magnetic poles, which are 15 degrees off or to the side of the physical poles. And these poles, when they've shifted, these magnetic poles shifted, yes, it almost gives the effect of the planet is almost like on the side now, magnetically speaking. Okay, you can find that in Feeding the Forces, actual facts number 2, and Pagatut, the Stargate, actual facts number 7. It talks about, it actually shows the magnetic force field around this particular planet, and it looks like an Anank or an Ankh. So when those shifted, I think it was in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, that the airports had to close down because all the magnetic, the radar systems that home in on the ley lines, all that was thrown off because the magnetic lines were thrown off. So yes, that does apply too, because we're not so much dealing with the magnetic poles. We're just dealing with the angle of the particular planet. Now, as the angle starts to shift to another way, the actual physical planet, not the magnetic portions, but the physical planet starts to shift back, which is what it's doing now, then that will have a different effect on the invisible circle that the axis makes above and below the planet if you track the axis. Okay, so that is what will change. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, I got a question to go with that. When you were just explaining that, how does that tie in with the Quran, the scripture in the Quran that talks about the double east and the double west?
Oh yeah, that's definitely what it's referring to. Actually, in the Quran, I forgot what surah and ayat, what chapter and verse that is, but that's talking about the actual physical axis. Okay, latitude, longitude, line, so on and so forth, and the another axis, which is a magnetic axis, which is off 15 degrees to the side of the physical axis. So yes, that's what.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And also another reference, and I'm trying to get. I know certain people have certain books, and certain people don't have certain books. So I'm trying to give you a wide range, or relay a wide range. You can refer to the Holy Tablets, chapter 6, tablet 15, verses 367, and it deals with the notation that we're talking about. Okay.
Okay, I got a question for you. On page 25 of the cycles, actual fact number 240, the cycles on page 25, 76, verse 76. It's gonna actually go over into the next page, but it says Tanun, or the planet Earth, is the third planet from Ptah, or the sun, which is 93 million miles away at most times. At 77, and the 93rd attribute of the Muslims' deity Allah is An-Nur, which means the light. 78, Ptah, the sun, is the light. The 93rd Ren, or attribute name, and the number 93,000 miles, 93 million miles, is the distance, and this is no coincidence. And again, which is chapter 93, is their Quran today, As-Thuye, and the time after sunrise, forenoon.
Right,
and then
right
he
there.
has the diagram. Okay.
Right before we get to that diagram, does everybody on here knows what Djah'utwy deals with or stands for? Or Djah'utwy, that Arabic word right there. We have to make sure we establish that that's known first before we go any further beyond verse 78. Okay, so for those that don't know, that will be Djah'utwy, or Djah'utwy, or Tahuti, or Thoth. Okay, who was also called Melchizedek, Zoser, throughout the different mystery schools. Okay, so that will be Djah'utwy. So that narrows it down as far as like what point of perspective we're dealing from. Okay, all right. So before we go further, like I said, we got to establish, if we don't know these certain key terms, we can't go forward. So let's go over to page 23, verse 69. Let's go back a little bit. And let's get an idea of who this Djah'utwy is in regards to the solar bodies, the suns. So let's go back to page 20. Let's go back to page 22, the last sentence. Somebody read the last sentence in the last paragraph on page 22, verse 9. Somebody read that for us, please.
Okay, that's verse 69. It says, remember once, to took Ptah Wahan.
The last sentence.
Oh, the last sentence. Okay, we pushed them out and they changed our good to evil. Changed those of us who were good to evil, as you see with Djah'utwy, Thoth, Djah'utwy, Tahuti, and then you go over to the next page. Hermes, Chanas, Nachash, Mercury, Iblis, Ibis, Trismegistos, in Sumerian, Mengishzida. The Hebrews call him the serpent in their Torah, Genesis chapter 3, and the Arabic of the Muslims' Quran is Atuhe, or Duha, sunrise, the forenoon, after sunrise, daybreak, daytime. Now it's chapter 93. It was originally chapter 11 with 11 verses.
Stop right there.
So in their anger. Okay.
Stop right there real quick. So if we go back over to page 25, verse 78. All right. So now we see why chapter 93, which deals with the 93 million miles that the sun is from the earth, why that's mentioned in the Quran under that title as Djah'utwy. So now we see that it's representing a being that deals with and pertains to or associated with sunrise or celestial bodies, the forenoon, after sunrise, daybreak, daytime. Okay. So now let's go to verse 71.
Okay, so at the beginning of the fourth cycle, each of 7,000 years, you have Chabutu, or the seraphims, and Chabutu, cherubims, and Huminu, called human beings, be they agreeable or disagreeable, from seed mixing, gene mixing, DNA mixing, fluid mixing.
Okay, stop right there. All right, so now when we go back to your original question, finishing your original question on page 25 from 76 to 78, now we have a better understanding of how all these things are related. These things being the sun being 93 million miles away from our planet, and it being inserted into the Quran as the 93rd attribute of the source that they call Allah, which happens to be defined by them as the light. And why the Quran, that particular chapter, is called Djah'utwy or Djah'utwy, which deals with that being, our ancestor dealt with the sun. It deals with the sun or sunrise or daybreak or daytime. You see that?
Yeah, and that also made me think about the coming forth at dawn.
Yes. So
when we talk about it from that point.
Yes. So now when we go back to diagram 3, which is what you were about to get to in your question, we can understand that chart and see exactly what it's dealing with now, or get a better understanding of what it's dealing with. So there's a chart on here. Let me just can everybody see that? When the sun appears to rise, a tumray. When it's on high at 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., that's Atunray. When it is setting, that's Amun Rayay. And it goes back around again. So in this chart, it's talking about the 3 suns. And then it has one where it says forenoon. And it's called associated with the green light. This particular position of the sun, or Rayay as we call it, is associated with this being that was referred to as Djah'utwy, that's dealing with, he was also considered forenoon, or the green one. So that's how it's associated. That's how it's linked up.
Hey, you know something? I gotta comment real quick, but that's something that's funny because Atunray would usually be represented as blue, and then Atunray, the highest point, would usually be represented as yellow. So the green would be the mixture of those two primary colors.
There you go. So this is also what you just said is a perfect statement. So this is symbolic of the preparatory stage that we all as beings had to go through, that initiation rite or that fraternal order that we had to go through in order to get and be trained to belong to the order of the Most High. So this was mentioned in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 6, where it talks about, and Jesus was after the order of Melchizedek, who was called the Green One. In ancient Egypt, this will be Djah'utwy. So when you see the sun, Atumre, with blue color, and the sun, Atunre, as represented by a crystal or onyx, or as you said, yellow or gold, that's also symbolic of the stages of the sacred orders that we have to go through. And each order we have to go through, and in each step, a certain level of data and information is given to us that we have to absorb and understand and practice to get to the next level. So the midpoint between that would be going through this order of the green light, which would be the order of Melchizedek that we now know as the ancient Egyptian order. And the head of that was this Ptah or Djah'utwy or Djah'utwy or Djah'utwy or Thoth by many different names. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. But now you just brought up something else, because I think about it, because the name now is Tahu and Twi. Twi means a double. So would it be now symbolic of in between both of those points, the one there between Atum to Atum, and then the other one from Atum to Amun?
I don't know, but that sounds reasonable. Because you got, when you say Djah'utwy, that like you said, that suffix at the end, that means dual, like you said. So that's talking about Dedi, those dual beings that are within that particular body. So like I said, I don't know, but it sounds reasonable.
Huawei.
Okay. So now let's go over to page 26. And speaking of the 99 names of their God, Allah, you will make note of 99, the number 99, because the original 93rd chapter in the Quran is now the 99th chapter, which is called Zalat, which means the shaking of earth. Okay, and it says, it will shake, the earth shakes when, I'm sorry, let me go back. So it's basically saying when the earth shakes, and it talks about the two wests that you're talking about and the two easts. Matter of fact, here's the verse right here we're talking about. Chapter 55, verse 17. It says, talks about this master of these two easts and two wests. This master would be this Djah'utwy, or as Zuhay. Okay.
Excuse me, what book is that?
This is Cycles Actual Facts number 240.
Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm. So here goes the answer to your other question. If you go over to verse 79, page 27, what it means the meaning of the two east and two west. It says the only way is, as far as how it could be two east and two west, the only way is east meets west and west meets east twice. That means a shift in the planet Earth's axis. That's what it's talking about. They must have been one, or there will be one, a shift. Note, at the end of the words for east and west, you see the two letters Y and N. They stand for dual or two. This is what we teach in the actual facts. So what it says in the Quran, where it says there's two west and two east, it's talking about the shift in the planet from one position to another. Right? That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're talking about the actual. We're talking about the actual shifting of the magnetic north and south around the planet. That's what we're talking about, right? Just the magnetic shift. Or are we talking about the actual Earth itself shifting, though? You see what I'm saying? Because he said,
because
okay,
both are happening. Right. Both are happening. Yes. Mm-hmm. Just how, like we said earlier, that as your cells, everything's happening at the same time. As your cells, then let's go back even further. The antimatter or subatomic particles that we can't see, okay, as they are existing, they also have an axis. They also are spinning and pulsating on an axis. They also expand and contract. And then take it up a little bit further. These atoms in, let's say, cells, your cells are spinning on an axis, spinning and going and so forth. The Earth is spinning on this axis. The Earth is spinning around the sun. Our solar system is spinning. Our Milky Way, on and on and on. All this is happening at one time. But this is very gradual that, we can't feel it. So yes, everything's happening simultaneously. So I hope that answered your question.
Tawad.
And tag it there. Next question from the room. Okay. While people think of their questions, another cross-reference for that, as far as when it talks about the 2 east and 2 west in the Quran, as they call it, you can refer to the destroyer, actual facts number 9, page 5, verse 13, which talks about the shifting of the skin of the earth, these 3 eclipses.
What was the actual facts? What again?
The destroyer, actual facts number 9, page 5, verse 13. You can start around 13. Okay. Also, when you're, okay, this is just a little thing I wanted just to add, or relay, I should say. When you're dealing with cycles or measuring time, anything like that, some actual facts that you want to definitely group as a whole, like we teach in our advanced doctrine class on Sunday, you want to have a group your scrolls together. That's a good technique that we have in advanced doctrine class. So if you're dealing with time, cycles, measurements, stuff like that, have in one stack, have cycles actual facts number 240. Lost records of time, actual facts number 20. Procession of change, actual facts number 14, which we went over earlier. Nuwapians ontologists of time, actual facts number 13. Is Egyptian ontology or mythology? Actual facts number 30. Okay. So those, just to mention a few, I mean, there's many more, but those in particular, keep those kind of like in one stack. They all cross-reference with them, like we do in this class. We all do heavy cross-referencing. It will definitely, the answer is not just in one book or a couple books, it's in many different scrolls that the master teacher put. And it's up to us to cross-reference and bring all that together to make one complete answer so we can be a part of the learning. Okay. All right, next question from the room.
Okay. I have another question that came in from another source, but they was asking what were the 24 diseases that were going to plague humans. Now, when the master teacher was talking about, I know he sent an update and he listed, like, I got to go back and find that, but they was asking what were those 24 diseases or viruses that were going to hit us or whatever.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know all 24. I know what update that you're talking about too, but I don't know all 24. One of them, Ebola, AIDS, stuff like that. And as a master teacher was explaining one time, he said that falsely called Krill, one of the Zeta Reticulans, who assists him, was telling him about that and how they had the cures and stuff like that. And this is what, I think if I'm not mistaken, this is what the Zeta Reticulans were trying to tell the past presidents, but they didn't want to listen. How about they had the cures for different things, but our government here is more about money and stuff like that, so they kind of ignored those things. But as far as the 24, I don't know offhand. I don't know, but I'll definitely find out for you. I'll go through my updates.
Towel hat.
Mhm. Okay, let's take a stop real quick right here for a second. Djah'utwy, Harar, Safun, do you have any announcements? Or time out, Ray?
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me pull my notes out. Okay, for those who didn't know, the master teacher did say that as far as concerning, there's also, just to let everyone know, there is a video that is circulating that is done by the Wu-S'aBat or the Sabian Worldwide News. That video is circulating on Facebook as well as through the Telegram apps. If anyone wants to check it out, if you don't have it, let me know and I can probably shoot you the link to it. But the most recent updates, the master teacher did say that the people who are dying, especially the Nagar Nadu or the blacks who are dying, they're not dying by COVID-19. Matter of fact, everyone is being labeled it. And I mean, the news just came out and said this the other day, but he gave us this update a while ago, but saying that people are dying from pre-existing conditions. So the thing is, as we there's a couple of videos circulating that just broke, I think the day before yesterday, where it was a lady. She's a politician. I can't think of what her name was, but she was basically saying if they found you when you transition, if you had the COVID-19 gene in you, they're going to classify it as a COVID-19 death. And so basically, they're saying that people are dying from COVID-19. But in actuality, it's not. People are dying from other symptoms, other diseases. And the master teacher said the reason why we are dying is because we can't get access to medical care. And the thing is, you have to remember when Trump did the executive orders and gave and told the hospitals to go into to pull out and go into their emergency protocols. At that time, hospitals they could refuse anybody for anything. But something else that's kind of funny that just came out in the news as well was that, these hospitals are getting $38,000 per COVID-19 patient. So this isn't coming from the master teacher right here, but this is just the discussion that me and some brothers were having, as well as me and my wife. And we was talking about, this is a big pay. This is the way to bail out the medical industry, because they're the ones who really are making money. You see what I'm saying? Everyone else, they shut down everything else, but yet they were still making money. So if you start following the trail of how these corporations and these businesses and these professions start getting how they get the bailouts, it seems like right now the medical industry is getting a bailout because they're getting $38,000 per COVID-19 patient. So yeah, they're gonna put whatever the person, you think about it, money motivates them. This goes back to what you just said about how the Mukasu and their system, how the system that we're in is all driven by money, or as they call them, God, which really is Gad, which is the deity of fortune and finance in the Hebrew. So, that's something that we got to pay attention to. So when they're saying that everybody's dying, I mean, they're just going to list it as COVID-19, really so they can get that money, from the government. Also, with that, as far as the COVID-19 goes, if you haven't heard, the master teacher said that get the pets out your house, especially dogs. If any of you all have dogs in your house, get them dogs out your house, because dogs carry the genes, and the genes is being transmitted by them. That's the reason why many of the Mukasu are freaking out, because of the fact that this is what, okay, how you had the swine flu, then they had the bird flu. So this is now really like the dog flu or whatever. So we got to be mindful. So if you can have, like he's always said, you can have pets in a domesticated capacity. So even if you have a dog, you can have a dog as far as to protect your property or whatever, but the dog stays outside. The dog don't need to be in your car, don't need to be in your house. You know, you don't need to be sleeping with it. You don't need to be, you know what I'm saying, letting it lick all on you. None of that stuff there. So if you have pets, make sure that you they don't have them in your homes. And now studies are coming out saying dogs and cats are transmitted. So that's one reason why the whole thing happened in Wuhan, why it escalated there so quick, because Wuhan, they have a big population of dogs there. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why it became such a big thing there, because of the amount of canines they have there. Also, like I said, mentioning the fact that the Mukasu, they do have canine in their genes as well. Along with the COVID-19, he said it does travel by water, so it can travel through the water. Just know that. Let me see. I had a couple of more other updates from the master teacher. I'm kind of going off the top of my head with some of them because I don't seem to remember what I did with my notepad. But that was pretty much it. And I mean, just everybody, I know that right now they're talking. Oh, this okay. The master teacher said he said it's going to appear to die down, and then it's going to come back and hit harder. Okay, for those who don't know, last week over in China, in South Korea, they had 100 cases of people who had been cleared and deemed okay that the disease was gone from them. In 100 people, it came back. It reactivated itself. It came right back. So now with them opening up businesses or whatever, the master just said, when it comes back, it's going to come back hard. This is how. Because once everybody goes back out, people are not going to be aware, even those people who did go and they got treated, they're going to think they're fine. And when they get back out here in mass population again, it's going to spread. I mean, we know that Bill Gates and Apple, so Microsoft and Apple have been Microsoft and Google have been working on an app to make it to where you can, a person who has been classified as having COVID-19, where this app will let you know when they're in your proximity. That's going to cause a whole lot of social unrest just with that application right there. So just be mindful of the things that they are doing. And remember that this whole thing about the division and everything was just basically a way to start to divide the people so that they can go ahead and start really rolling out their next plan, which is really going to be the mark of the beast or the chip, the RFID chips. They actually started bringing these out 2 years ago. It was a big thing with the company out of either Oregon or Washington, where they was talking about how all the employees at this job, they got the chips. And at the same time they was running that story, they was talking about the cybernetic or the smart tattoos, where people were getting the tattoos, actual tattoos with microchips in the tattoo ink, so they can use their tattoos to control certain things. And that was this whole big thing. This was about the end of 2017, going into the middle of 2018. This was like some of the biggest stuff going on in the world of tech. If you keep up with tech news, this was like a big thing of the things that they were doing. And then all of a sudden everything died out. So be prepared for that to be the next thing that is going to be hitting people. That's pretty much, I got to still find my notes, but that's pretty much just an update on some things that I've been noticing along with what the master teacher has already told us. Also, y'all start to remember right now, we got to remain sticky. With them opening everything up, we're going to have to use our minds and make sure we stay together. We got to make sure that whatever they get ready to do, we don't fall for it, because it's going to be something that's going to happen. So we got to make sure that we stay close. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Zamal Amun Hanibu.
Djah'utwy, Zamal. All right. Next question from the room. Once again, very good questions everybody's asking right now. You all's question makes the class, so please feel free to ask any question you want. You don't have to be nervous, or I see some people some people are in here listening. That's good too. But feel free to ask any question, whatever school thought you're coming from, walk of life you're coming from. That's what these classes are here for, because throughout time, in the religious community, we don't really have a chance to ask a question when we're in the mosque, or we're in the temple, or in the church, etc. You can't just ask a question as the minister is rolling, like right in the middle of them, you just raise your hand. You'd be called like the devil or something if you ask questions. So that's the importance of these classes that the master teacher set up in question and answer format, so you can get your question answered.
I got a question. I want to actually read something. I want to come from the Master Secret, series number 23, Katur Rananat, or Many Names. Page 1. I just want to read this about page 1 real quick, since you just made that statement. He says, starting at 1, my beloved children, the divine family, Musbatu of Wu-S'aBat, don't be deceived by the use of many names, titles, and or attributes by the aliens, extraterrestrials who came to this planet, or planned extraterrestrials, or planned ET. They are all using the same Rananat names in their religions of Mosesism, which is Abrahamism, Jesusism, which is Christism, Muhammadism, which is Islamism. In their own books, in their own dialect, they made up the Torah or the Tanakh, the Old Testament, the Maria or the Evangelion or the Gospels, the New Testament, and the Quran or the Koran, the Last Testament. And from them, many other books, scrolls that have been mistranslated to misdirect the true seeker of the Hakak, or the actual fact, that all of these came by way of extraterrestrials who inscribed the originals on stone slates in cuneiform in Mesopotamia, which tells of their arrival to this planet many thousands of years before the making of the Adamu Salal, or the Adamite race, 6,000 years ago. Okay, I wanted to read that because what I've been noticing.
What page you on?
Over the years, I'm just on page 1. I just read all of page 1.
Okay.
And he's talking about the many names, and I just wanted to say something about that, because what we have to do, one of those things the master teacher used to always teach was the etymology of a word, the origin of it, and the etymology of a word. You know what I'm saying? So you can get a comprehensive understanding of really what this word or these tones that we call words really mean. And something that is funny, when he started pointing this out, when you start going through all the scriptures, all of these characters all had very similar names. They sound very similar phonetically, a lot of these names. So with him telling us that, and then what we have to do is we have to kind of look and go back to the older list of names to see where some of these is. So he says here at the very bottom of it, he says, and from them, many other book scrolls have been mistranslated to misdirect the true seeker of the actual fact, that all of these came by way of extraterrestrials who inscribed the originals on stone slates in cuneiform in Mesopotamia, which tells of their arrival to this planet many thousands of years before the making of the Adamite race 6,000 years ago. So now we're talking about what we refer to as the Anunnaki, or the Anunna, who came down, and the Sumerian tablets, these cuneiform tablets are still there, and they're able to be read, they're able to be deciphered. But one thing in particular, was something me and the brother was talking about. Go back if you can, if you have the holy tablets. They have the list of the 200 fallen, the 200 that fell, and if you look at the names of those 200 that fell, and you start looking at a lot of the politicians' names, you will see that they actually have those same names. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of funny, because then it just solidified that this race of beings even though they created a lesser race, they still are connected with those beings and those malevolent beings. So there's a lot to a name. You know what I'm saying? That I don't think that we pay attention to enough, to the part like we look at things and we hear these things, but we don't never really kind of dive in to them to really get a complete understanding, which will lead to a right overstanding of them, so that we can really know what it is that we're dealing with, especially in this day and time. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. That might be a topic if anybody else had a question about, or maybe want to speak on the different names and the different dialects or the languages, because the language is one of the most important things. As I read earlier from the 9, you know, when we speak our language, then we are a people, then we are a nation, you know. So that's one of the biggest pushes right now. And I don't know if Brother Ptah is on the phone, but if he is, I would love to have him just kind of elaborate more on that language part, on the language aspect as well.
I think I saw Sinra.
I don't think. You say you think what?
I saw Sinra had a question. I saw his microphone off.
I saw.
I guess not.
Yeah, I think maybe he's at work. Let me mute him.
Too unstoppable. You had a question, sis? Okay. Okay.
Well, let me go ahead and continue that. Let me go ahead and go to page 2 real quick then, because I thought maybe he would have been on. Todd was on the end, but page 2, verse 4, it says that the original Lahaj, or the original language. Hold up, let me see.
If you're not asking a question, please mute your phone. If you're not asking a question right now, please mute your phone. Here's somebody's TV or something.
I got it. I got him. Okay.
Okay.
So the original Lahaj, or language mentioned in Genesis 11:1, was changed into many dialects, or Milsanat, or tongues, then on to Hebrew, one Hebrew, 2 Greek, 3 Arabic, and the true meaning lost. The complete stories were cut down to religious legends, tales, fictions, and lies. Number 5, this planet was originally germinated, planted, and seeded by extraterrestrials with all kinds of plants, sea creatures, animals, and fruit for their own use, a place of retreat for many and restricted from others. So those who took part in the Adamite project of 6,000 years ago were from 6 different star systems. 1, Zeta, 2, Pleiades, 3, Arcturus, 4, Aldebaran, 5, Draco. These groups were under the command of who and what is called shapeshifters, or Mushkal Hayal Ur-U. The Anunnaki, or Anunnaki, who in the Bible are also called by many names, the Anakim or the Anakim, which later became, in the Hebrew, the Elohim, and the Greek, Theoi, and in Arabic, Alihat. The plural forms for God, for deities, gods, often mistranslated as just quote unquote God, singular, and not what it really is, gods, which is plural. Many aliens or extraterrestrials. And I'm gonna stop here at 9. And most of the 6 species of aliens are able to shapeshift or transfigure forms to even take on human images or animals, specter, or ghosts. Now, my question is, what kind of technology or how are they able to shapeshift? Because you think about something shapeshift, you think about that being like a sci-fi thing, you know, like you see on the movie, and like X-Men, you see Mystique, and she can just she can mimic whatever she looks at. She can change her appearance to appear as whatever she looks at or whomever she wants to be. And then even in her case, she can almost sound like them. But that's a fictional character. So how are these beings, what kind of technology are they employing in order to make themselves transform their physical appearance to look other than what they normally would look like?
Okay. All right. First and foremost, let's establish one thing so everybody's on the same page. When we say extraterrestrial, for everybody in the class, this is when you say extraterrestrial, you mean extra, more than. Terra was another name for Earth, ancient name for Earth, and astral means from out there, the stars. So when we say extraterrestrial or extraterrestrial, these would be your angels in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, etc. These would be your avatars to the Hindus and the Buddhists, so on and so forth. Any beings that would come down, like they placed, they said Adam was placed in the garden. God or the Lord came down from heaven. So that would make them extraterrestrials. Okay? So as far as these powers go that we think are supernatural things, these are very common things. Shape-shifting is a thing that we'll start with the aquatic animals, which we are also. But like an octopus, so on and so forth, an octopus has certain cells that allow it to literally not just change colors, but shapeshift. All right? Same thing with us. We have certain cells in our body. They're mostly muscle and pigment cells. When you're dealing with any type of shape shifting or shifting the body to make it look this way, that way, discoloration, add colors to it, you're talking about muscle contraction and extra pigment control. Because right now you can't control your pigment, make yourself lighter or darker. We once had that ability because of our aquatic nature, us being naturally water beings. So the octopus is able to do that. Women do this shapeshift when they're pregnant, and when they're about to, even up to the point where they're about to give birth, they literally go through a shapeshift. Their hair gets longer and shinier, the nails grow thicker and all that, But then the face, the structure of the cheekbone, the bone that's underneath the nose, the maxilla, all that, it starts to shift, and they start glowing. All right. So those are all natural aquatic reptile traits. Another trait that's a common reptile trait is telepathy, being able to see in the dark. These two things, that's very common things in the aquatic environment for those beings. So us being naturally aquatic, breathing air, we naturally have the ability to shape shift. It's just we forgot how to control those the muscle contraction and of course the pigment in our skin. For those that don't know, at one time we had an abundance of magnesium and zinc in our bodies, which caused us to have an aqua greenish color. And if you look at the people in Ethiopia, they have this actual greenish tinge to their skin. Our brothers and sisters over there. All right. So it's all dealing with muscle contraction and pigmentation control. So when you see an octopus change colors, but then they start looking different and everything, bumps start coming out their skin to look like algae, or they grow like these porcupine-looking appendages out of their skin to look like a coral reef when they're hiding from like an eel. All that deals with muscle contraction, which is attached to pigment cells in their skin and throughout the bloodstream. With us, we had the Philosopher's Stone, spittle of the gods, monatomic rearranged elements that we called in our language mafkuzet or mafkuthet, which would be liquid gold, which is 27 karat gold, which came from Sa'ah or Sahu or Orion. And this was in our bodies at one particular time. This is also the reason why a lot of us were portrayed on the hieroglyphs as being gold, just like with the one being Rama, who's our master teacher's guide for different things like that. He's depicted as a short being with red eyes, but gold. Okay, the Adam and Eve so-called story, when you read it, like you said, the etymology of it, when you read it in its original language, you see that they did, the word there wasn't skin, they had scales, and they were reptile looking, and they shined gold after they partook from the tree, which was that liquid gold that a particular god gave them and taught them the art of sex. And that's where it picks up as let be fruitful and multiply. So that was Eve still having the ability to shapeshift. Another example, when Cain was told by God, don't be careful that your countenance will drop. And then that's when he killed Abel. That's what that particular God was telling Cain, or Canin, as we know him, that God was asking him, why is your countenance drop? Meaning, why are you shape shifting back into your reptilian or Anunnaki type nature? And that's all can be found in the Akasha records. Actual facts number 72. All of this is in here. Okay? And this all was about all the shapeshift and everything. These were just small things that were a part of the bigger umbrella, which was finding the secret to extended life. Because prior to that, they were given 120 years to live, so on and so forth. But it was those ones like Adam who lived to be, that so-called Adam, that particular one lived to be 930 years old. But it was because it was after partaking of the tree, meaning this liquid gold, which it gave them the ability to shape shift. Because the liquid gold was in our ancestors' bloodstream. So being that it was in the bloodstream, it was able to circulate through the circulatory system and dilate throughout all the corpuscles and organelles and molecules throughout every cell throughout the body. So when it was given to someone else and they partake of it, the first thing, as the ancient records read, is that Eve, the word there was kawa or hawa with a KH or a H, kawa or hawa or TT in the Sumerian. The first thing they said that she did was she glowed, she transformed, she shifted. And that's where it picked up in the Bible as, and they now knew good from bad, good beings from bad angels, so on and so forth. So telepathy, night vision, the glowing scales, those shape shifting, all those are natural things that we could do. And in conclusion, on the hieroglyphs, when you look at Arashtat, some call Isis, some call Arishkagel, some call Ninti, some call Nenkri. When you look at the hieroglyphs of Isis or Arashtat, you see your arms extended outwards to the sides, laterally. And you see wings under her arms. These wings symbolize many different things, on the spiritual realm, but it also symbolized, it also depicted them being able to rejuvenate limbs and grow limbs, extended, stretched skin, which is what you would call wings. That's why they would say throughout the different stone tablet stories, which became your religious stories, they were talking about beings that flew. All right, it wasn't just in crafts, but also beings flew. Just like when you read Ezekiel, they came out the fiery chariot. These beings went where they went, meaning they hovered. They didn't have to turn. They just floated, levitated. So that's what also those wings underneath, being able to rejuvenate limbs. All that deals with shapeshifting, and that deals with what the ancients called namum or num, which was that sacred elixir or that liquid gold, that mafkuzet that was in our ancestors' bloodstream. So this is what the master teacher said, like, we have to get that back. And that comes from proper diet, breathing, chanting, praying, speaking your own language to get on your proper tone. So when you hear yourself speak sabbatic, you'll get back on the right key, which in turn will help you activate those DNAs in you to take part of the astral mutation, which is this transformation process.
Okay, we have a question from Matt. She said, "So is that why our genetic code so simple that they can manipulate us so scientific? I guess so scientifically."
Um, it's simple. Well, no. Actually, it's not simple because just about a year or two ago, they just died. The doctors admitted, let me use that word. They admitted because it's so egotistical. They admitted that they found other organs and other parts of the skin and other parts of the body even. So as they say, it's more complicated than what we think. With their technology, it's one thing to have all the technology, but if you don't have, if you just, if your conscience or your brain can only go up to the level of just thinking, then you have a limit. If your brain can go up to past thinking and get to the reasoning part, which is us Nagarnadu or Negroids, stock people, brown people, black people can do, Sabians, then that's a whole different story now. But you got to remember the Caucasians, Mokasu, they only go up to thinking. They don't have what we know as nine reasoning. Okay, and there's a Patarak reading by the elders, 24 elders, called Nine Reasoning. All right, and this deals with the state that we go to, just like they have seven chakras. No, we don't have seven chakras. We're the only beings that have nine energy points in our body. 8 and 9 extends out of our physical head on up into the air and space, and then 9 will be all the way out into the all. So that gives us the ability to dig deeper into things, comprehend things at a different level, see other colors, see beyond the light spectrum, hear other sounds. So when the doctors say that they doing all this stuff, it's really only scratching the surface. So what they're trying to do is, the secret is in, to answer the sister, is what they call telomeres. If you look that up in the Google, the telomeres are basically, you know how you have shoestring. The end of the shoestring, there's like a plastic tip that keeps it tight, so your shoestring doesn't spread out when you're trying to put it through the hole, the time. That's just how the telomeres are on the ends of your chromosomes. So if you're a woman, XX chromosome, man, XY, of course. Hermaphrodite, XY, on and on and on. The secret is in the telomeres. The telomeres are the things that have a chain in them that rejuvenates the life of your actual cells. So if you could tap into the telomeres, and these are the things that rejuvenates the life of your cells, then that's when you have what they call, throughout the ancient scriptures, this extended life. You see people that live thousands of years, 100 years. That's what they were tapping into, to be specific. So to answer your question, they haven't found that yet. They know about the telomeres, but they don't have the science to quite do that yet. They're trying to, but remember, they're still approaching it from a brain capacity that only goes up to the level of thinking. That's like a musician performing in every club there is possible, but it's just all the clubs within one city. Make sense? So the secret is in the telomeres.
Okay, I have two questions to go with what you were just saying. Okay, so for one, so with the shape shifting, so could we say that, or could it be said that right now the extraterrestrials are causing or are promoting the shape shifting of humans by synthetic means? And what I mean by that is because of like the injections, the makeups, the wigs, the weaves.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
That's to stop it. That's to stop it, because if you put, let's say for example, lipstick. All right, we'll just stick with that one. A lot of the lipstick is made from whale fat. Okay, so when you put that on your lips, like there was one update when Master Teacher was explaining, like the more you put lotion and stuff on your lips, your body has a way of adjusting or recalibrating itself. Meaning, if you keep on putting excessive amount of moisture on your moisturizing stuff on your lips, okay, eventually your body's going to say, okay, well, we don't need to bring moisture to your lips, and your lips will start drying out. Just like a bodybuilder, and they start taking testosterone over a period of time too much, your body is going to say, okay, well, I guess we don't need to make testosterone because he's putting some a synthetic form in it already, in us. So, hey, y'all, this is the organs talking. They're saying, hey, we're going to stop producing testosterone. So same thing with lipstick and makeup. I was like, it's putting it on it, and it's actually damaging the skin. It's not. It's slowing down the process or the ability to access what we call our higher senses: telepathy, psychometry, clairvoyance, ESP, levitation, all that, or what the ancients called the niter tatin, or the niter tatin, which is those higher senses that we could consider superpower, like shapeshift and all that. That was something that we already had, the niter tatin. So all these makeups and this and that, and these, the deodorant with the aluminum in it, heavy aluminum, all that stuff is stopping you from transforming back into your true self.
Why? Okay, in the second part, you was discussing about the monoatomic gold. So could you elaborate more on? So is gold the only element that is what's classified as a monoatomic element, and then what all elements can become monoatomic elements?
Okay, palladium is one of them. Iridium is another one that you'll find traces of in this so-called liquid gold. All right, just to name a few. And then you had the actual that's what manned your body, but which is also a craft. All right. Now, as far as the actual crafts that I mentioned throughout the ancient scriptures, it was a substance called omnicron, but on the elemental chart, it'll be unstenium. Unstenium. This is similar to the element that's found only in us Black people's hair, which is called militium. Militium is what allowed the transformation process in you to connect to things outside of this biosphere, which would be from the bottom of the ocean to the first portion of the atmosphere. That would be the biosphere. So it's land and sea. So this element that's only found in our hair, the moon, and Mars is another connection that deals with the Mafkuzet and all that, allows us to connect with those higher portions of us and other things. So iridium, palladium, those couple things, those are some of those elements that deal with the whole shifting of the body, utilizing all the power within each cell to get us back to that state. I'm trying to find some other stuff. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to find my tab for gold here.
Well, I know on the subject, while you're looking for your information, I know I've seen online where you have people that are selling monoatomic gold dust or monoatomic mineral compounds, and I was looking at that and I was like, and they're coming up with these different ways as far as to that they have a bunch of different ways how they're able to extract or to manufacture monoatomic elements. But from just doing a lot of research myself on it, I've seen like basically in the water, there's a lot of minerals, monoatomic minerals just in natural water alone. If you can dehydrate it, you will be left with it, especially in mineral rich water. That's really what the mineral deposits are. It's monoatomic substances. But it's just kind of funny to see that you have those people that they're trying to sell it, and they're trying to boost it. But it's not some of the ways that they're making it. They're making it from. It's not a. What's the word I want to say? It's not body friendly. It's not something that the body, they're not making it from sources or the process in which they're trying to make it is not to the point where the body can absorb it. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that gold dust, it's mentioned in the Ptah, but I got there's many different references. But the one in particular, like the iridium, I just had to check to make sure. That's what I was checking, make sure I'm relaying the proper information. Yeah, it's iridium. Iridium's one of them that makes up this liquid gold. But yeah, remember that's what we would call it here, because we're on the lower scale of elements as far as how we use them and stuff. We're using basic compared to our overseers. We're using basic elements. You know, they start very high on our elemental scale. That would be their start, where we start on hydrogen one, where that's kind of like primitive to them, if you will. All right. So iridium will be the closest thing. That's one of them that, as far as those elements that make up this liquid gold, in order to take part in this shapeshift. But I just wanted to give a couple references, because when you're talking about the Mafkuthet, you also have to include the me stones or the young Nawat. So we're going to go with, let's see, there's so many. Pagatut, Actual Facts number 7, page 6, verse 12. And there's an actual fact, a Patarak called the Little Book. Actual fact, Patarak number 82. It says, it was a reading. It wasn't no particular verses. I don't think it was actual book or came out later maybe. But it says the 7 telomeres at the end of male's chromosomes are activated by this Mafkuzet. Okay. Okay. Pa Bananu, page 1 and 2, verses 5 and 12. It was referred to as, what is it? White dew, white condescent, the white dove, depicted as a white feather, symbol of the soul, the elixir of life, Mafkuzet, sacred ash, white powder, high spun gold, the platinum group of metals. There it is, right there. I'll lay it right to it. So on the elemental chart, through to Harar Safun, to answer your question, on the elemental chart, a periodic table, when you look at it, you're going to look for the platinum group metals. And that's where you find it. You find iridium and all that within that. Okay. This is the thing, now that we have that established, this is the particular element, this Mafkuzet, that will allow, it will be secreted by the gland that we know as the barytheric gland, which will be reinserted underneath the chin or the submental region of the chin by a process called skin stitching. It's a process called skin stitching. And it'll be like a little, I guess, like a lump, if you will. There was an update the master talked about it, where he actually saw the barytheric glands. They look like glow-in-the-dark pool balls, like from a pool, shooting pool. So this, when it's reinserted, this will secrete that Mafkuzet, or in the Bible stories, it would be the angel food cake or shoe bread, this Mafkuzet, this 27 karat gold.
Okay. Are you still on that? Because we got a comment from the group.
Go ahead.
From my said, I think that we really have to be careful because we are all scientific experience and are different in many ways. The telomeres hold all the keys like a hard drive that contains who and what we really are and where we came from.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So in that sense, then it's like the telomeres will be acting like the me stones or the Masat. They'd be acting like the me stones then, in a sense, or could they be connected to it per se?
Yeah, not so much acting like it. They're a part. It's a whole process that takes place. The telomeres will be activated, just like the Bartholin gland. Once it's inserted, it will then secrete this liquid gold. It's all pieces of the mitochondrial DNA of the woman that has to be activated. It's a chain of events, not just one thing doing the other thing, and that that's just that. It's a chain of events that will take place, which needs glands. Your body needs to be on point, so that the telomeres are more or less it's a part of the process, right? So that you have the telomeres and you have the mafkuzat. Each one is connected to the other, having its job. Just like your lymphatic system does that, your circulatory does that, but they're still linked together.
Wow, Wayne.
Right. So if your telomeres are set to the age of 82, then that's what it's set. But there are things that now, when you get to this point where you are qualified by the forces of nature to have this extended life, then your telomeres will be adjusted, because they are responsible, once again, for rejuvenating the life of your cells. But your telomeres are also set for right now. So that's the whole thing. It all depends on our qualification. Are we qualified? Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to piggyback because you were talking about the platinum group. I was Googling it. So the 6 platinum group metals are ruthenium, rhodium.
That's another one. Those are another one. Yep.
Palladium, osmium, iridium, and platinum. And the funny thing is, I know about rhodium because if anybody has jewelry, if you go to the if you have gold or whatever, if you take your stuff to the jeweler, they put a rhodium finish on it. That's how they buff gold. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of gold jewelry. So when I take it in to get it clean, they use rhodium to buff it and to clean it and to so those are numbers 44, 45, 46, and then the 3 below it, 76, 77, 78 in the nice little group right there on the periodic table chart.
Right.
For those who might want to know what the platinum group was.
Djah'utwy. I'm looking here in the Akasha records, actual fact, series number 72, on page 131. This will answer your another answer to your question as far as the telomeres versus the mafkuzat. Page 131, verse 1060. Remember this: if you help our mukwa'u, oversouls, they will help you make your life firm on this mikab planet and raise you up to themselves when your time comes. They adjust the 24,000 genomes and the length of and the amount of time each of your 24 billion cells reproduce by your 24 telomeres at the 4 tips of your XX chromosome, mother or mother, of your nature, and the 24% of your chromosome's DNA you use at all times. So once again, that's the qualification part of it, by assisting not just yourself, but those oversouls, your ancestors. They will adjust those 24,000 genomes, which affects your 24 telomeres, and that will also be a part of the extension of the life.
Okay, so now the question could be asked: what must one do to help the oversouls? For those who may not know.
Okay, at 9, 9, and 3, what do we do?
Chant.
But in order to we chant, but in order to know the language, we had to study the language, right?
Right. The Lahash, Taboa.
Right. So that'd be a first. That'd be one of the things of the recipe to assisting our oversouls and helping free them. Because as it was stated, when we help free them by chanting, they help us when it's our time to cross over. And they will, in that whole orientation period that we're given, and then we're given instructions on that next level, they will help us on that level. Another thing, your diet, breathing. It's the very simple things that the master has relayed to us throughout the years. The diet, breathing, chanting, knowing the language. It's all those things together will make us qualified. And on the one audio tape, a while back during the AEO times, he said it's nice to be important. It's more important just to be nice. According to Ptah, states that you could build a pyramids and teach all the classes you want, know all the doctrine information, help everybody out, but if behind all that, if you're not doing it out of love, it don't even matter to them, to our ancestors.
Or one of the main keys.
Yes.
Any more questions from the room? Okay. Matt just said, the breathing and the chanting opened up your chest, allowing and they didn't finish. Hold up.
Yeah, the breathe. He got cut off.
No, the statement didn't finish. It said the breathing and the chanting opened up your chest, and then it said allowing and that's it. I don't know if they got kicked out or something, or they lost connection, but it stopped halfway in the sentence.
That's okay. The deep breathing, you have deep breathing in almost any type of culture or practice. Like for example, martial arts or anything. There's always breathing in every culture, or even especially the sacred groups of women and men amongst the culture. They always have some type of breathing techniques, because that's one of the main things you do to cleanse the body. When you do that deep breathing way down into your genitals, inhale into your nose, down to your genitals, out your mouth, that deep breathing releases and gets rid of the dead carbon or the dead particles that are in the bottom of your lungs or your areolas or your bronchioles. Gets rid of all that dead stuff that was sitting there. And when you breathe, as you're inhaling, fill up one exercise is to fill up way down below until your stomach fills up, until your chest fills up, but raise your shoulders up, because there's certain upper portions of the lungs that we never get a chance to fill up. And when you fill it up, concentrate on your upper right lung, and you keep on breathing like that, it will help you stop you getting from tuberculosis. So these are called, throughout the different cultures, it's called by many names. Guna, condensed breathing, circulatory breathing, chi breathing, we say nashut, or energy. So it's called many different things. And that also cleans your skin too. Because it cleanses your cells, it also slows down the aging process, which clears your skin. You have a clear look to you.
Okay. They said the breathing and the chanting open up your chest, allowing the energies to help your carbon that's within you too. And I'm trying to wait till they get the whole thing. This is all of this is coming from Rayay Matt Achet Rayay.
Oh, Rayay. I see you. I see him. He looking at shaking his head. Oh yes. Yeah, I know he's about to drop something. So I'm gonna be quiet. I know he's about to drop. I'm gonna just be quiet. Look, he's shaking his head, smiling. Look at him. Yeah. It's a blessing. We all, every time elders on, I always make a point to say it's a blessing to have our elders and our tribe around us and on these classes as well, just around this period, because once again, I sound like a broken record, but they are our guidance, you know. If you read the Ptah, Office of 24 Elders, it's the 24 elders that the master teacher selects that surrounds him, which in turn, they turn around and guide us. They are a representation of the Untoru, or our overseers, in physical form. Just like in Revelation, it's 24 elders. We actually are proud, are fortunate and blessed to say that we have our select of 24 elite elders out of our community to help guide us. So it's always a pleasure to have you on the call, Kadao.
Okay, let me read the whole thing. I think this is the whole thing. Okay, he says the breathing and the chanting open up your chest, allowing the energies to help your carbon that's within you to drop to the level where you can hear them, and they help to overstand the journey.
Right. That's right.
Okay, hold up. He said, okay, so the play with the carbon then, because being that we're carbon based, and matter of fact, we was just in Akasha Records, and when you go to the last page, we were just one page over. Matter of fact, I think it was the next page, 132, and you see that hydrogen, helium, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 24. Time back in again to the 24 elders, but you have the hydrogen 1, helium 2, carbon 6, nitrogen 7, oxygen 8. So this is the recipe for carbon-based life then, or this is just, or would this just be strictly for us as carbon-based life?
Well, no, it's just life period. To have a physical body, katat body. Each element, starting from hydrogen 1, burns itself and fuses itself into the next element to birth that next element by high pressure and temperature. So it shows you, first and foremost, this should raise a statement of there had to be some divine intellect in order to do that. To fuse two hydrogen atoms together, which normally don't come together, fuse them together to burn and birth helium, which in turn goes into that and that. So into nitrogen. So when you get up to carbon, C6, now you have all the necessary ingredients for the recipe of a physical body. And carbon is what is in melanin. This is why when the physical body is being created in the womb by the woman, before a body, even a nervous system or even nerve cells, neurons take place, there's always that black nakat or black dot, which is a black dot of melanin, in order for any type of neural activity to start forming. The reason why I say brain and neural activity, because that's the first thing that pretty much forms. The nervous system, the brain, there's always that black dot. So that carbon makes up melanin. So when you reach the point, in summary, when you reach the point of carbon, C6, that's now you have all the necessary ingredients. They burned all themselves and birthed all the elements to have all the necessary ingredients for a body. And now when if you follow that, after nitrogen, after you have the ingredients, now you have to have nitrogen. And the reason why nitrogen is because nitrogen, if you study nitrogen is 78% of the Earth's atmosphere. It has a negative charge of 3. It replaces air. It eliminates oxidation of materials, meaning like it slows down the oxidation process of us eroding, rusting, from going from green to brown. And it's another main thing for nitrogen is a basic component of amino acids and urea, which is your urine. So, and you need amino acid to have life because amino acids make up protein. So nitrogen is a component or makes up amino acids. And your body needs this nitrogen to make proteins as well as, and here's the last thing, nucleic acids. You need nitrogen to have nucleic acid. Nucleic acid is what makes up your what? Deoxyribonucleic acid, your DNA. So that's why it's no coincidence that nitrogen is the next element after carbon. And then after that, now you have all the physical stuff. Now you have the nitrogen, the gas stuff. Now we just got to fill it with some air. Air. So that would be your oxygen. So if you look at it in that way, all the elements are specifically go one after another in a strategic pattern that our overseers created in a specific scientific way, which is actual fact.
Okay, I got another comment. Mugdal said, remember that this is the chemical for this planet. Now, each planet has its own chemical chart. And that ties into what you were saying earlier when we were talking, when you were explaining about how some beings, like their lowest element that they deal with is omicron or omicron or whatever, because they like the elements we're dealing with, that's like baby stuff to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Matter
of fact,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, matter of fact, I recall one time when the master teacher was talking about Mars, and he was saying that you look at Cydonia up there, and he said, notice the pyramid. You had the atom picture or whatever, the Sphinx from Mars or whatever, which was the Amun face, and then the pyramid. He said, look at that pyramid; it had 5 sides to it, and he said, why did that one have 5 and we only have 4 down here? Which in actuality, that one would really have 6 and we would have 5 because of the base. But the 5 sides, though, he was saying because they have an extra element, there's something that's on Mars that's not here. It was an old True Light tape that he was talking about that. So that because of the atmospheric pressure and the things, the chemical compositions and the things that make Mars up are different than what makes up things here on Earth. So they had an extra step or they're at a higher evolution, and it was displayed because they had put a 5-sided pyramid there, and we only have a 4-sided one here.
Right. It's just like if you go to Revelations, the Crystal City, right? We all know the Crystal City's, original name. That was N'Ibru, that we used to call Nibiru. It's actually pronounced N'Ibru. This shows you the origin of where Abraham's name came from, or Ibrahim's came from, or Ibrahim. It says on Nibiru, or Nibiru, the Crystal City, there are 5,000 elements. Element number 105, Omicron, is their number 1. They consider the elements that we have out of date. Omicron was given to Earthlings, and Omicron is made up of another element, molybdenum. These beings utilize Omicron the way we utilize oxygen. Omicron enables them to travel internationally, store massive amounts of energy, and dematerialize. Some of us were bred on Mars and some on Clarion. Clarion was not originally there. It was placed there to balance Earth after the Nibiru crash, like a magnet. Clarion is a planet craft that was created. Titan, which is the moon of Saturn, is a craft that relocated to this solar system. The reason why other planets have other elements different from Earth is because during the Big Bang, those planets came in contact with cosmic gases from other galaxies. So tell us about that right there.
Okay, Mugdal, he made 2 more comments. He said the carbon spinning around and the nitrogen makes it magnetic. That's the first one. And then he said the barometric pressure, barometer. Yeah, barometric pressure on Mars is different since there are no air in space.
Mm-hmm. Djah'utwy, put down. Yeah.
Okay, so now this kind of just I'm gonna just kind of dive into this though with the motion of the spinning.
Just
wait.
real quick, I just want to check because we're about to be out of time. I just want to make sure anybody else had any more questions. Anybody who didn't ask yet?
If you're in the Zoom, you can unmute your phone and ask your question.
All right, go ahead, bro.
Okay, I was just gonna say about that spinning. Okay, so going back all the way to the beginning of the call, we were talking about the cycles, and we're talking about how the Earth spins around the sun is spinning around the bigger sun, the Milky Way is spinning around, these precessions and these changes. So with this spinning is actually creating fields of energy, right? So just like what the Mukdal just said about with the carbon spinning around with the nitrogen, you just said you said nitrogen had what, a -3 charge?
Yes.
Okay. So now if we take the micro spectrum of things, if we kind of look at that on to the macro, how we look at the universe at large, I think we can get a bigger scope about that. This is a big energy powerhouse. There's a vast amount of energy in the universe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just to really kind of look at it from that aspect. I remember the other day, somebody was challenging. I watched the video my son shared me with me about the Matrix, and they was challenging the fact of whether or not it was really actually possible for, in the Matrix Part 1, where the human bodies were the robots were using humans to charge them as batteries. You know what I'm saying? Right. But the question then came down to it: how much energy does the human body actually produce? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and could that have?
It's not really a set amount or ceiling to it, because you got to remember, going back to what you originally said. Okay, everything is spinning, right? So if everything is spinning, this is why arts, certain things, and breathing techniques and stuff, every deadly, let's say, martial art deals with circles. Tai Chi, Bagua, what did Ip Man teach Bruce Lee? Wing Chun deals with circles and stuff like that. So by generating that circle, you're automatically going into the flow of things. Xing Ai, all these different practices. So when you're able to when you're taught how to cultivate your energy, meaning gather it in your body, and then circulate your energy into internal energy, and then exert it out, you can raise your temperature to the point where if you touch somebody, you could burn them. There's YouTube videos now where you have people lighting newspaper on fire and all that stuff. I show that to my students a lot. And yes, your body's capable of generating a serious amount of energy. Because you got to remember, once again, going back to, Ezekiel, Revelations, those crafts, some of those weren't crafts. It was described as elders in a circle, lit up as energy beings, like as Etherians. So when we looked up, all we saw was like a star-looking type craft thing, but these were the elders in a circle coming down. Let me see.
Okay, I got two more questions that just came in from the Zoom. Asar Sinray Sinra says, actual fact, intelligent design, divine design, or plot of the aliens, series number 46, page 42, verse 249.
Okay, let's go there. Before Ptah Yananum Ningishita was able to incarnate into the body of this Korat child, they had to see which human seed I would be planted into and to reinsert the barytheric gland in the child in his submental area beneath his chin. So what was his question?
Okay, the question was, how does Ningishita relate to Padnabab Yanun?
Ningishita will be the name in the Sumerian text, or the cuneiform language, or Sumerian language, or Shumerian language.
Okay. And another one from the Mukdal, he says, in the movie called Toy Story, They scared the people, took their energy, and used it to charge their city. You know what? I gotta go back and look at that now. I didn't even pay attention to that. Good looking. I gotta go back and watch Toy Story now. Was that part one? I gotta ask that question.
Who said that?
There was an elder. Yeah, I'm like, they said the movie called Toy Story.
Back
I gotta go.
Okay, I'm gonna read this. This is for Asar and Ra. This is coming from the Kasha Record, Series number 72, actual fact, page 25, verse 189. To make it clear, all other physical people have ancestors who speak to them all the time in their heads, as far back as 4 generations. I also have a body, Malachi Z, Babina York L, also known as Isa El Hadi El Mahdi. That is my physical me. I am also in my Akik Khatat, etheric body, Yanun, who is a 19th elder, and have both Riskians and Markabians of Zeta Reticuli in Orion's belt. Okay, so each part of him is a different entity or being, and each one has a certain set of information for us when we ask him questions. All right.
All right.
We'll go ahead and stop there. If anybody has any last questions, comments, concerns?
All right. I don't see any more. You want to say anything before I close out?
First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming on, because you all make the class. You know, your questions and your presence, you all make the class, period. So I thank you. A lot of people had wonderful questions. People that are on right now just listening, thank you for coming on. Hopefully this helped you or assisted you in your learning. I guess to end the class, Cadell, you have anything, words of wisdoms you want to say? Hold on a second. You want to? Okay. Oh, there he goes. We can hear you. Cadell, you there? Okay. He says, just hold on. The best is yet to come. All right. Sergeant Ra, what you got? Sergeant Ra, you want to say something? Okay. Okay. That's all I have, Djah'utwy.
Rayay. Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming on the class tonight. It was a good class, a lot of good questions. Remember, we'll be back here next Friday, same time, same station, same channel. Like I said, and also to remind you all, on Sundays, we do study. We still haven't organized a dedicated time, but if you get a text on Sunday or Saturday evening, we do an advanced study class. That is definitely the group to get into, because we'll actually take a book and we're actually walking and break everything down word by word, line by line, to get a clear understanding of what's being conveyed and what the master teacher is really trying to get us to understand with the lessons that he's given us. So again, with that, I want to say thank you to everyone. And before we leave, I'm going to read from the Psalms of Yanun, and I'm going to read Psalm number 19. Seems fitting. He says, "Let us Sabians of Wu-S'aBat rejoice. O Pad Nabab Yananan, the Master Yanun, hear my prayer. Listen to my cry for mercy in your ashuk, or divine love, grace and bliss. Come forth to my relief. Do not bring your devoted student into judgment, for no one living is like unto you before me. The enemies pursued you. They crushed Tamaray to the ground. They made me dwell alone, away from our holy land of Nuwapia. So my Ba'ah soul grows weak and faint within me. My heart within me is dismayed. I remember the days of long ago on Tamaray. I tamul, meditate on all your works and consider what your hands have recorded by pen. Great works done. I spread out my yadadat, my hands to you. My soul thirsts for you, like a parched land, Yanan or Yanun. Answer me quickly, O Yanun. My Ba'ah soul fails. Do not hide your face from me, or I will be like those who fell away. Let Tahut morning bring me word of your unfailing love, unfailing divine love, for I have put my saduk or trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. Rescue me from my enemies, O Yanun, for I hide myself in your glory. Teach me to do your will, for you are my Savior. Bring me out of ignorance and troubles in your unfailing Ashuk divine love. Silence my enemies, destroy all my fears, for I am of you as you are of me. Rejoice in Yanun. And with that, I want to say to everyone, Laper Lailut or Laper Gadur. And you all have a great and peaceful shadow hour. And we'll see you all next week. Wadu.